Coming to the fifth stanza of this poem, it reads, whilst past the campfire's crimson ring, the star-struck darkness cupped him around. This is again an important, a contrasting image that Judith Wright is making. The crimson ring of the flames, where he would sit in back in those days, in a forest under those cut trees where there is no electricity. He has burned the fire, and the flames of those fire are producing a crimson ring, a red ring, and as John Milton had once said, that from those flame there is no light comes, but rather darkness visible. Isn't it? So these flames would not create a lot of light, but still there was, a little light that would come out of those flames, and then there was complete darkness around him as it was night time. Today, if you go to Australia, to Sydney, to Melbourne, or to other places in Australia, you will find that even at night, they are lit cities with electricity. Isn't it? It seems that there is hardly a difference between day and night, but that was not the case with those pioneers. They had that little light of the flames, of those red flames, and around them there was complete darkness, as is the case with Bullock driver, with this pioneer. Next he says, centuries of cattle bells. This is a reference to to those times, to the darkness, the tunes coming out of time, that all their hard work, all their hardships would bring a great future ahead of them in the coming days, in the coming years, in the coming centuries. But at this particular point of time, they had nothing with them except little light of the flames and a complete darkness that surrounded them. Coming to the sixth stanza, it reads, grasses across the wagon tracks, and plough strikes boon beneath the grass. But now the things have changed. The grass has occupied those wagon tracks, those tracks which were once tread by that bullock driver and those bull carts, but now you do not find any track there, you do not find any path there. अब उन सब जगहों पे घास उगी है. There is grass over them. It is covered by grass. And those pioneers, they are dead. Their bones are under the earth. And now if someone plows, कोई हल जोतता है, तो he doesn't know where the grave of those pioneers could be. And their bones are touched by the plow. जब कोई हल लगाए जमीन में, तो वो जब जमीन के अंदर जाती है तो अंदर से कोई किसी की हड्डी बाहर निकल आए या कहीं हड्डी के साथ वो छू जाए तो वो हड्डियां उनकी. These were those men whose names are not now there. Nobody remembers them. Nobody knows where they were buried, but they were buried somewhere, and wherever they have been buried, there must be their bones which are left. And vineyards cover all the slopes where the dead teams were used to pass. Now there are vineyards over all those places. Gardens have been made, parks have been made, roads have been made, buildings have been made. And there are even some tracks where nothing has been made, so grass has grown over there. But things have changed completely, where once these dead teams used to move. The dead team, the teams of the bulls and that bullock, referring to those pioneers. They were the men who once, treaded on that land, on those tracks. But now nothing is left. Everything is vanished. Nothing is there. But their efforts have not gone futile. The efforts that they made, their names are forgotten, their lives are forgotten, their tracks are forgotten, their team is forgotten, but not their efforts. Their efforts lived on. As he says in the next stanza, O vine, grow close upon that boom, and hold it with your rooted hand. Now this last line is, a reference to the nature. Men doesn't know anything about their bones, about their remains. They don't know anything about them. So they don't have a chance to, preserve them, to protect them. So he's referring to the trees, to this natural vegetation. Since you grow deep inside the earth, So what should you do? You should grow close to those boons, closer to the boons of those pioneers, of those bulls, of those great men, of that team, and hold those bones together with your rooted hand. This is also a kind of personification of the roots. Sting to them, protect them, preserve them, grow around them, as we don't know where they are, as we don't have access to them, as we can't protect and preserve them. But you do preserve them, grow around them, protect them. The prophet Moses feeds the grape, and fruitful is the promised land. Prophet Moses. Again, Prophet Moses is now here again. It is a reference to these great men. Now he's using the word Moses for them, as Moses was again a great prophet, as I said earlier. And here are the biblical allusions, not illusions, to Prophet Moses. And again, he says he feeds this. They feed this whole civilization. Which civilization? The Australian civilization. As I said earlier, their lives, their tracks, everything is forgotten, but not their efforts. Their efforts are still there. It is only because of their efforts that Australia is such a great civilization as it is today. Now people have to better it. They cannot preserve it. So nature knows where those bones lie. So the roots of the trees, of the vines can, hold them together and protect and preserve them. And last line is, and fruitful is the promised land. And look at the promised land. The land which was promised by those pioneers. The land which was made by the efforts of those great pioneers is here in front of us. And it is fruitful. It is populated. It is better. It has grown better. Though there are different kinds of men. There are fiends and angels, as I said earlier. But still it is populous. That was the poem Bulllocky. And what it was all about? It was about the efforts of the great pioneers, European pioneers who made efforts, who sacrificed their lives for making up nations, and they ended up in making up the great nations. Their lives were forgotten, their boons are unknown, but their efforts didn't go waste. It was a commentary on the way of life that they lived, on their lifestyle, on their efforts, on their struggle, and at the end, it does say that their struggles never went vain. Their struggles yielded fruitful results, and the promised land is fruitful. That is all we have at your academy today. We dealt with Bulllocky, and I hope this lecture was helpful for you in understanding this poem. Keep watching your academy for more interesting stuff on English literature. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe your academy. Thank you for watching.